your first assignment, the regular assignments, not the autobiography, but the regular assignments. I'm recording these on a laptop, and it appears that maybe the first, say, 30 seconds of the assignment or my talking may not be recorded. I don't know why that's happening, but you'll just have to bear with me on the rest of the videos for that. It's something that I've noticed in quite a number of videos, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Okay, so let's get into this really quickly. Your first regular assignment is going to be a primary source analysis. And I'm going to do a separate video on primary source analysis because I want to be able to guide you through the steps on doing this first assignment. And then, of course, have already looked at the video of what is history, and you now should have some general clue of the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. And of course, primary sources are very much important for us historians. We spend the bulk of our time analyzing, reading, dissecting primary sources. And for the 2 points, one, to provide these primary sources for other historians to use, and also to take these primary sources and write secondary sources for them. So you should have some idea. You'll watch the video on doing this, what a primary source analysis is, but we'll get into exactly what the assignment is right now. So your first assignment that will be up will be the primary source analysis, and this is the death of Moctezuma. So if you click on this here, what will open up is this tab that will show you what the assignment is all about. So you are to complete an assignment using the 6 C's of primary source analysis, and I've gone through that in this video of the primary source, so we won't pull it up here. But this document is in MS Word, and what you're going to do is you're going to complete the document, fill it in, and then you're going to upload it here. Once you've downloaded this document and you're ready to start work, and there'll be a button that'll say submit, and you'll be able to submit and it'll upload, and that will be the way that you're going to turn in your assignment. It's in MS Word. Now, if you're having trouble with this, you need to send me a message. Don't just try to do whatever you want to do. Some students are going to be trying to turn this in Google Docs and all kinds of stuff. Don't do that. And if you do that, I'm just going to ignore it and I'm just going to move on. And the reason for that is sometimes students have this thing set up for passwords and all kinds of stuff, and it's just crazy. Do it the normal way, upload the document, and move on with your life. Now, the first thing you're going to do with this primary source analysis for the death of Moctezuma is that we've got to establish a couple of things. Number one, you've got to read the appending chapter, and this is going to be chapter 1 that will talk about European conquest. And so what you're going to do is you want to make sure you're grounded in the Balin book on this, so you'll have some idea about how this conquest will take place. Now, once you have grounded yourself in reading that chapter, what you need to do then is to go to Camille Townsend's Burying the White Gods, and you're going to call up this document. Now, why we're going to read Camille Townsend's work, and here it is right here. It's down in my download folder. You're going to read this because there has been a lot of talk, and this has been something that's been taught for years amongst historians and in college, that the Aztecs thought that the conquistadors were gods, and that perhaps they were mesmerized by them and led them into Mexico for them to literally take their own selves to slaughter. And what Camilla Townsend has done is showed us that that's not together true. That these stories about the Aztecs thinking the Spaniards were gods were stories that the Spaniards themselves wrote. So what the thought process here is that the Spaniards wanted to see themselves in a certain light, and they wanted to show the Aztecs in a certain light. So from that perspective, there is a little bit of manipulation going on here. And we talked about this in What is History video about how this process occurs. So what we're doing here is I want you to read this, and you don't have to like read just to be all in on this. What I want you to do is to read it close enough where you get the gist of this without spending 12 hours doing this, because you don't have a lot of time. You just need to be able to get in here and figure out what Camille Townsend, what her overall thesis statement is, and how she's talking about the way that the Spaniards grounded themselves, or that talked about themselves. Now, this is a rather lengthy article, right? It's quite a number of pages. So what I want you to do is you'll probably be better served in reading the first 3 or 4 pages of this and sort of distilling out the arguments and trying to just get a general overview of what she's saying. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do with that, and what I would do is I would take some notes when I'm reading this, so you'll get a good sense of the idea, and this information is going to help you as you later progress through this assignment and later assignments. Now, after you read this document, so you've kind of got a gist of it, then what I want you to do is that I want you to go and watch this video on the fall of the Aztecs. It's only about 54 minutes. And this video is probably one of the better videos that I've seen, but there are some problems and issues with it. One, they do talk about the idea that the Aztecs thought the Spaniards were gods, and now we no longer believe that's true. So sort of the person who's doing this, I don't believe is a historian, but he's done a number of these videos, and they're pretty decent. He's pretty active and interesting, and he talks with great passion about the subject matter. So I think the video is good enough. And then they're going to talk about things about the Aztecs that you want to kind of get a good feel for or a good understanding. And what I want you to do, and why we've picked the Aztecs, there's the Mayans, the Incas, certainly the Native Americans in North America. These are also stories as well. But this one is really good because there are a lot of primary sources that were produced after the fact, and primary sources that give us an opportunity to start talking about and debating how history is written. So after you've watched the video, you're going to go and you're going to look at this document, Malinche, Indian Princess or Slavish Whore. Now, if you've read the video, you're going to know exactly what this is. And you can click on this, and it will take you directly to the document. And so what you're going to do is you're going to just read this document, and you can see what the arguments about Malinche are, and you should be taking notes and thinking about some of the issues that are here about Malinche. Then what you're going to do next is, after you do that, you're going to read 2 documents. One by Cortez and the other one by Diaz del Castillo on the death of Cortez. And then what you're going to do is that you are going to then complete the primary source analysis of one of these 2 documents. You're going to either use the Cortez document or the Diaz del Castillo document, and you're going to go through the 6 C's of primary source analysis with that document. Now, once you've done that, then you're going to upload it, and you are going to be graded by this primary source rubric. This primary source rubric is going to cover 2 particular areas. One is your grammar and your formatting. I want to make sure that your grammar is there so I can read it. And then you're going to be graded on how well you do the primary source analysis. So here is a rubric for you that will tell you what I'm looking for and what you need to do in order to get a decent grade on this. So this is pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing to it now. Let me just reiterate this again. you want to spend time on these documents, and you don't just want to lazily go through these. You're going to need this information when we get to other areas like the discussions, right? And of course, final exam. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to this particular document. All right? So I think that should be pretty much it for this one particular assignment. And all of the primary source analysis of the documents are pretty much the same. You'll move from this one and you'll go from the death of Moctezuma and then you'll have the primary source analysis for the City Upon a Hill, the Virginia Declaration of Rights, and Democracy in America. Now, these other primary source analysis, I'm not going to go and spend a lot of time with them simply because of the fact that there's not a whole lot. This one is not rather complicated. The rest of them are pretty straightforward. The first one, you've gotten going and there's a lot of thought put into that, but these are pretty straightforward. You're going to have to do some background work and figure out what these documents are, and that's where your research is going to come in. And so I'm not going to do a video on these ones separately, but just the one on the death of Moctezuma, because it's much, much more complicated. Okay, I think that should be all. If you have any questions, go ahead and send me a message through Canvas.